Welcome to the sequel writing vlog. So this writing vlog is all about me writing the first draft of the sequel to my debut novel. I've never written a sequel before, which is for good reason. In traditional publishing, you can't be sure that you're going to sell your first book, never mind a series, so you don't usually write the sequel to a book until you've sold the first book. I think that's really good advice because you can write a trilogy, you can write a duology, spend all your time doing that, and if you can't sell the first book, it's not going to get published. And so in that case, you've kind of wasted time doing those other books unless that's just your passion and you really want to do it. But if you're writing the whole series thinking that you will sell the whole series, then that can take up a lot of your time. So I hadn't written any sequels, and also because I didn't know how many books I would end up selling. So you could plan a trilogy and then the publisher only buys 2 books. I did plan a duology, so for me it's all good under the hood. But they could have only bought 1 book and said, actually, we'd rather this be a standalone book and I not sell the sequel, in which case it would have been a waste of my time to have written the sequel. So I've never written a sequel before. This will be my first time doing it. So today what I'm going to be doing is way back when I was on submission with my debut novel in last summer of 2019 or something like that. Summer of 2019? Yeah, that sounds right. No, I don't know. Anyway, way back when, a year ago when I was on submission, my friend Faridah said, "Oh, what is your second book gonna be about?" And I was like, "I don't know." And she was like, maybe you should plan that so that you have all that stuff ready. She's like, I have a friend and she's got her next 5 books. She's got synopses for them all. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So, and honestly, the best advice, because I wrote that whole synopsis while I was on submission, and now I have that done. I have a 10,000 word synopsis. I have my entire Save the Cat plan of exactly what I'm going to be doing for this sequel, so I don't have to think about it at this stage, which is wonderful for me, and I'm so grateful. Thank you, Faridah, for telling me to do that, because now I don't have to worry about it. And it was also really nice because then while I'm editing my first book, I'm thinking about what I've already planned for the sequel, and it allows me to kind of make adjustments in the first book for what I know is going to come in the second book so that everything can cohesively make sense. So what I'm doing today I have to read through that whole synopsis because my memory is horrific and I've forgotten a bunch of stuff that I did. I already started reading through it. So I'm going to finish reading through it today, and then I also need to adjust all my Save the Cat plans because recently I figured out my characters' goals a little bit better. I don't think I had them quite on point, and I figured them out better for the first book. So now that's changed how I'm looking at the second book, so I have to adjust my Save the Cat plot beats and all the characters' internal journey stuff. And also knowing now that my first book was half of my Save the Cat plan for the series, and then the second book is the other half of the plan for the series, I have to make sure that also works. So I have to do that today, and I think that's kind of just my plan. And then I wanted to read Story Genius today, so we'll see how that goes. It's me and Princess. So yesterday I was supposed to do my entire Save the Cat plot for my sequel, and then I got really tired and I didn't feel like it, so I read the whole of my synopsis that I had, and then what did I do? Oh, I did the character motivation thing for my main character for the new book, and I didn't end up doing the Save the Cat stuff, so I'm gonna do that today. And I also have to apply to jobs, because if you didn't know, due to COVID-19 being a thing, I lost my job in March, which was, I guess I'll post this when am I going to post this? In May? So in March, I lost my job. And so I need to do some job hunting. Today, I did get a rejection from a company I really wanted to work for, which was depressing. And I'm a little bit sad about it. I think it's so funny because I don't hear a lot of writers talk about their day job. They do kind of here and there. But sometimes I almost feel like there's this misconception that all writers kind of just want to write full time and they don't have a lot of ambitions around their day job. But I actually do have a lot of ambitions around my day job. And I had expected to be at my company for 5 years so that when I left, I would be leaving with something like 7 years of social media experience under my belt. And I had only expected to apply to this company I just got rejected to by the time I had all that experience. And I really had felt a lot of job security before COVID-19 came around. And so I had felt like I was in this really great position to build up all this experience because I didn't go to school for social media. I switched careers. I guess like 3 years ago, I switched careers. And so I've been working really hard on getting that experience. And now it just kind of feels like I didn't get to stay at that job very long, almost 2 years, but not quite, which is also upsetting. And it just feels like I'm starting from scratch. Like it feels like I have almost no experience after all, and that I'm just back from the starting block to try and like climb my way back up from very little, which is depressing. It's depressing. So that's how I'm starting today. But anyway, more fish in the sea. So I'm going to do the plotting for my sequel today. I will get that done today and then apply to some more jobs. And then in the afternoon, I'd like to take time to finish reading Story Genius. I read half of it and like ran away to work on my book because I was so inspired and changed and motivated from everything I read. So this time I'm rereading it, but I'm going to read the entire thing. And so that means I need to actually take time to read and not just watch Nailed It on Netflix for however many hours. So in the afternoon, that's my goal, to just sit down and read and finish it. So we'll see. It's 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. So I didn't do too bad. So today is my first day of drafting. I haven't drafted since NaNoWriMo in November. So it's been a little bit, though not too long. And this will be, I guess, like my first book of 2020 since the other two I drafted in 2019. So that's kind of exciting. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm working with. I'm a little bit almost semi-nervous to start because I've never written a sequel and it's kind of an interesting point. But I'm excited to do it. I think that'll be good. I do have a book called Hooked. It's all about beginnings. And I'm thinking after I finish Story Genius, which I'm about 30% through, even though I've previously read the first 50%. But anyway, I'd like to read Hooked after because it's really, really good for getting you to do really hooky, engaging beginnings. And I feel like for my first book, the beginning was like, it really hooked you in and it was really unique. And this one, the beginning is good, but it is kind of starting in a spot where I don't know that it's as interesting as it could be. So I might reread Hooked and see what I'm going to do with that. But yeah, first day of drafting, here we go. I'm actually like dressed nicely today because I have a phone interview and for whatever reason I became paranoid that they would be like, actually, let's just do a video interview instead. And then I would be so gross and unprepared and I would look really unprofessional, even though I know it would be unprofessional in general to switch a phone interview to a video interview and not tell the person. But anyway, so I'm like dressed properly. I'm even wearing real pants. So I'm like dressed up today. But anyway, a little bit of an update. My editor sent me my next round of edits. She's pretty sure that this is going to be the final round of developmental type edits before we move on to line edits. And so I was looking over those briefly in my email. I get stressed anytime I get feedback. So I immediately was like, oh, I can't read this right now. I need to go away. So, but at some point today, because I have deadlines now, so I can't, just like sit around rolling around being like, oh man, I gotta make this book better and I don't yet know how. I actually have to do stuff. So I'm probably gonna be looking at that right after I do this phone interview, or maybe even look at it a bit right now because the interview's not for like an hour. So I might do that. So I have stopped working on the sequel because now I have this deadline again. I don't actually have a deadline for the sequel yet. So I've stopped working on that. I've swapped over to this. Whenever I do my vlogs, I like to have them wrapped into this perfect wrapper of working on one project the whole time. And I can't do that anymore. So I guess this will just be like a more general April sort of vlog, because I can't compact it into one project anymore. So whatever. But anyway, so what I'm working on now is that I'm going to do those edits to get those done. I think that's actually going to end up taking up the entirety of April, because she set a deadline for May 10th, which I think is doable. I might actually even finish before that, but we'll see. So that will be, I guess, the rest of April. But I'm also simultaneously, because I'm reading through Story Genius and they have activities and that sort of thing for getting to know your character. I do find I really like Story Genius, but Story Genius is very much for when you are starting with an idea and you're beginning a story. You can use some of the tips they have for revision, and I have in the past. That's the only way I've used it in the past, but it really is more made for and tailored for starting a new project. But anyway, that's not how I'm using it once again. But I wanted to go through the exercises for my horror book so that I can kind of get more in depth in the character in that, and like get all of those notes involved, so that once I'm done with my edits for the first book, once I've got a first draft for the sequel done, I can start bouncing between working on the sequel and working on the horror, and I'll already have all those elements in place. So that's kind of what I'm working on for April now, I guess. Things always shifting. Two updates in one day. So I guess it's two updates in one day, but a lot of stuff happened. So first of all, I did my interview, my phone interview. It didn't magically turn into a video interview. It remained a phone interview, but it went really well, and I learned a lot more about the company. I hadn't been able to find out a lot about them online, and so I was able to learn what sort of clients they work with, and they're actually like big, exciting companies. And so they pushed me to the next round of interviews, which is good and positive. And like hearing them talk more about the role, it really is a lot more how I wanted to pivot my career anyway. So I'm feeling a lot more hopeful in general because now it feels like maybe I'm just getting into what I wanted to do earlier than I expected, which is even better. So it's kind of turned into something more positive. So that's great. And I have been emailing back and forth with my editor, which has been really good. So something I realized about my first book is that I didn't have a clear internal struggle for my character. And I kind of had the clear internal struggle, but it wasn't super clear what her like goal was to do, you know, like what she wanted to do in her life. It was kind of really fuzzy. And after reading Save the Cat Writes a Novel, I started to think about that more and more and more. And I eventually came to an idea of like, this is how I'm going to change like her internal struggle. It's really similar to what it already is already. So I'm not doing anything like wild in my first book, but it does mean that I need to make some adjustments. And so I had sent all of that to my editor just to get her thoughts on it in case she was like, no, I hate that, or she was like, oh yeah. And she actually was really excited about it. She said it was very smart and insightful, so I feel really good about that. And I've also gotten the go-ahead from her to send out my manuscript to sensitivity readers. So I have one that my publisher is providing, and then two I've hired on my own. One is a partial sensitivity read, so they're just reading one chapter essentially. And then another, they're going to read the full manuscript. So that will be really exciting. And maybe like one time I'll do a short video about like sensitivity reader process once I've like gone through the whole thing with them. But I'm really excited about all the readers I'm going to be working with. I think they're going to be really awesome. So that's exciting. And now that I've gotten my second like developmental edit letter, I'm going to be working on that, as I said earlier. So now I'm just kind of organizing how I'm going to work on it, because it's not as clear cut as it has been in the past, but I've basically been organizing it based on comments. So there's like 75 inline comments in my manuscript. So I've been doing it. So like every day for the next week, I'll do 15 of the comments. And then next week I'll tackle 2 larger story problems that I have to fix. Well, they're not really problems. I just need to rearrange it essentially. I know exactly what to do. I just have to actually do it, and it's just going to be bigger than just like changing a couple lines or whatever. And then I'm going to do my read through, which you know I love if you've watched my previous vlog. But I got to do my read through so that I can pick up on any inconsistencies, and also so that this new internal character thing that I've decided upon, I can go ahead and insert that. So essentially what's happened, I can be pretty frank with this. So my character has difficulty thinking about her future. And so the thing with the reader is that I wasn't sure that it was clear what she wanted to do. So I think a lot of people in her life really, like, she likes cooking. So it's like, oh, well, is she just going to be a chef? And then I was like, is she? I'm not actually sure. And so that's kind of what I had to work out. So in my read through, it'll really be like making sure I have all the internal character stuff going on properly. And so essentially by the time I finish that edit should be the same time roughly when I get the sensitivity reader stuff. So then I should be able to incorporate that maybe in this same edit, or in the next edit, like as we do line edits. But anyway, so that's the plan. And so now I've started the read through. So my read through now, I'm doing 3 chapters a day, but I'm doing it extremely slowly because I'm doing several things. So 1, I'm making sure that overall comments are addressed. So comments that kind of revolve around all the characters as a whole in general. 2, I'm making sure that some specific comments are addressed that I switched to do during my read through just because I figured it would be simpler to do it then. And then 3, I'm trying to add in some bangers. So to me, because maybe it's because I've been so focused on just getting the story and all the plot beats and all that right, I just find that I don't have as many like quotable lines, you know, that people might pluck out of the book and plop on a t-shirt, and I want more. So I'm doing this read through extremely slowly so that I have more time to look for opportunities to put in lines that are a little bit more artful and a little bit more pretty writing sort of lines. And so that's kind of what I'm doing for my read through right now. I switched angles because my arm hurt from holding it up because I'm weak and out of shape. But anyway, so right now I'm doing my read through, and so that's kind of my focus, just doing those 1 to 3 chapters a day and getting all those fixes done. It does take a really long time. Yesterday I did the first 3 chapters, and I hopped on to Kate Kavanaugh's live stream, and that was like a 2-hour live stream, and I still wasn't done after. And then I went through for like another hour, so I started at like 2:30 and finished at maybe 5:30, maybe 6. So that was like 4 hours of writing. 4 hours to read through 3 chapters. Granted, my chapters are very long, but still. So it's a lengthier process, but based on the schedule I set out for myself, I actually will still finish ahead of deadline. My deadline is May 10th, and I think I'll actually be done May 2nd. But we'll see what happens. It's good to have the extra time anyway, because then it's fine. Like if there's a day where I really cannot, then I can just skip over that day and push my schedule. So it's a pretty generous deadline, I feel. And yeah, I'll update you when I'm like halfway through these.
Like log in for like, go tell them. Yeah,
that's for my university. I like
yeah, right. Mm-hmm. But no, I think like reading, like doing research, it might feel like it's all dry and everything, but after a while, like when I'm writing, it feels smoother because I don't have to stop to look stuff up, because I already like went into like the deep like rabbit hole.
Yeah. Like random information that you randomly found end up like becoming key in your book. You're like, oh my gosh.
Hi, I'm Liselle Sambury. I'm the author of Blood Like Magic, coming out from Simon Pulse in summer 2021. It's about a young Black witch living in Toronto in the year 2099 who fails to come into her powers and is forced to choose between losing her family's magic forever, a heritage that's steeped in centuries of blood and survival, or killing her first love, a boy that is supposedly her genetic match who she hasn't actually fallen in love with yet. And on my YouTube, I talk all about my journey through traditional publishing and my experiences and interviews with authors, and sometimes the odd Sims 4 Let's Play. Videos kind of alternate between like my how I got my literary agent book deal video and then like writing vlogs, I would say, which I do like making writing vlogs. It's just like there's so much work.
I was gonna say, Allison, you were talking about the editing being the fun part, which I do genuinely enjoy, but sometimes with those vlogs, like they get so long and it's just frustrating to edit. Sometimes you're like, why don't you stop talking?
Yeah.
I think it's because I wanted originally my degree in college to be a director and screenwriter, so I was like going full course in high school editing, so I learned a lot of stuff. So that's why I loved it, and I just love to sit at my computer and edit a blog for hours on end.
Oh, that is not me. And it's funny, actually, like part of why I started doing YouTube was because I wanted to do video production so badly, and I still edit, and I'm like, what shall I put between this clip of me rambling and this clip of me rambling?
Coming to you from my kitchen. It is messy. I have to clean it up right now, but I'm procrastinating that, so I thought I may as well do an update. What have I been doing these past days? Something I did do, I got a early copy of Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. It's basically like Southern Black girl magic meets The Legend of Arthur. It's so good. I'm actually such a slow reader. It takes me like usually a couple weeks to read a book. I read this in 3 days and it's 500 pages, so that's not an easy feat, but it was so good. It's such a page turner. I just had to keep like turning the page and reading it. On the last day I stayed up until 3 a.m. to finish reading it, which I haven't done in like a very long time. It's so good. It's coming out in September, I believe, in 2020. Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. The cover is banging. When you see the cover, you're gonna be amazed. I'm gonna link it below in Goodreads. I'm part of a thing some of the 2021 debuts are doing, where we're supporting 2020 debuts because of the whole thing of how the world is going on now, to help support them. And Tracy's someone that had really been supportive of me as well when I had announced my deal and all of that. And so I like leaped on supporting Tracy, also because I was so interested in her book, and then I got to read it, and now I'm like, so look forward to, in the future, me doing some videos with her to talk all about her very amazing book. And definitely add it to Goodreads, because I linked it below. Add it to Goodreads and pre-order it, because you can, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure you can do something. So anyway, I read that. I played with some Lego. I ordered some Lego, played with that. That was pretty good. I still have one more kit. This is the other kit I have. I got a Flintstones one, and I got this. I thought it was gonna be Polly Pocket sized, and I was like, yeah, Lego Polly Pocket, because I kind of wanted just buy Polly Pocket, but then I know that it's just sitting there. I wouldn't play with it. I just like miniatures, so I thought this would be a really good in-between because I could build it, but it's actually like much bigger than that, so not Lego Polly Pocket, but I think that's a great pitch and I think they should do that. So I did that. What else have I done? I'm thinking of peripheral writing things I've done. I've been pushed forward to that interview I had. I had a phone interview a while ago. I got pushed forward through to a video interview, so we'll see how that works out. If I get the job or not, I guess we'll see. What else have I been doing? Been doing some Zumba sessions. Pretty much Zumba and boxing are the only forms of exercise I actually enjoy, and I'm trying to get more into just living a healthy life. So essentially, for thing of me, I was a fat child. I don't think there's anything wrong with the word fat. I was a fat child and it basically meant that I spent my entire life, basically since age 13, cycling through my weights. So I pretty much hit 150 and then I like cycled down to 130 through like restrictive eating and over exercising and that sort of thing. And I really want to get out of that cycle. I just want to be a normal person. And so I'm kind of working with a nutritionist now to just kind of find ways that I can create more healthy habits in my eating. If you see my Instagram, you know I go buck wild. I love sugar. So I'm not like, I don't want to do crazy restrictive stuff. And I told her, I don't care if I stay the same weight. I just want to feel like I have healthier habits. So part of that is like trying to find a way to find an exercise I actually like so that I will do it every week and it won't be a chore. It'll be like a fun thing. So I've actually signed up for like there's supposed to be like a live stream dance workout thing on like Wednesday. So I signed up for that. So that's actually really exciting. I'm excited to do that. And I do like a lady does free Zumba on Zoom every Friday. So I've done that for like 2 weeks in a row now. And I felt good every time. And so the eating is just kind of mostly like trying to, at least in one meal, incorporate a lot more vegetables, that sort of thing. I'm gonna have pancakes this morning. So, but that's the thing, right? Like I don't want to get into this pattern where I like feel guilty about stuff that I eat. Like that's the shit I don't want. That's the shit I don't want. So that's kind of that aspect of my life. And then writing. Let's actually talk about writing now. So I am at pretty much the halfway point of my read through. I'm at I'll be starting at chapter 19 today of 35. The read through has been going well. I'm finding what I'll do is I'll start editing something to be like, oh, I gotta get in this information, and then in the line below I'll have already explained it. So there's that. I've been adding in some more of those quotables, those quotable lines. Though the last like 6 chapters, I haven't needed to do as much editing on, so it's been a little bit faster. So that's been good. I am starting to get in the headspace of the impending realization that people will be reading the book. This week it started with, like, yesterday I started thinking about my sensitivity readers, because I have the book out. The book is out with 3 sensitivity readers right now, but 1 is through my publisher and the other 2 are through me. I paid for them personally. So one of them is supposed to get back to me on Friday. They're just doing like a partial read, so that's okay. And then another one has read the full thing. And it just hit me yesterday. I was like, oh my God, she's reading the whole book. Like, she can have an opinion on the book. She can hate the book. And it just got into my brain. And so now I'm feeling paranoid about people reading the book, even though that's what I want it to do. But I find that this is a very common debut fear, where you're scared of people reading the book that you want them to read. And that's where I'm at now. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, what if people hate it? What if it's like, and then I've kind of been cycling back on that myself. Like, I think of friends' books where I'm like, I haven't read it yet. It's just because I haven't got to it yet. Or it just wasn't my taste. And that doesn't mean that I hate them or I think they're a bad writer. For me internally, it's just like, this book wasn't my taste. And that's fine. So I've been trying to apply that to myself and say, it's okay if they don't like your book. They're not going to think you are a trash writer, at least the people you know. They're just going to be like, it wasn't my taste. And that's okay. Not everybody can love my book. And so that's what I'm working with now. I think because no one new has read it in such a long time, I've gotten this weird tunnel vision where I think there's this weird small exception of people that like the book and that everybody else will definitely not. And so that's what I'm working with. That's those debut feels. Yeah. But anyway, I'm plugging along. Doing pretty well. I'm sticking to my schedule, so I should actually be done probably around May 2nd. I'm not gonna get the sensitivity reader. She's reading for my trans girl rep, and she's not gonna be done until I think more mid-May, end of May, so I won't get to incorporate hers into this edit because my deadline is on May 10th. But the person that's reading for my demi-romantic rep, she's gonna get those notes to me on Friday, so this Friday, so I'll be able to incorporate those before I send it back to my editor. And then my last sensitivity reader through the publisher, he's reading for my trans boy rep, and he, I believe, isn't gonna be done until end of May as well, so then we'll be incorporating his feedback later. I'm not sure how that's all gonna work because we don't know what the feedback is gonna be. Like, the feedback might be, let's change up these few lines, or the feedback might be, you've done this character completely offensively and you need to do a whole overhaul. So I think if that is the case, then there might be a bigger regression in edits, but if not, then it might be smaller edits. But we'll see what comes back. So that's what's gonna happen. And I think that's really the only thing I'm kind of waiting on. And otherwise, I feel pretty like poised to finish on time. My deadline is actually May 10th. So if I don't, for whatever reason, feel ready on May 2nd, that's not my deadline. So yeah, that's this very long update, this very long chatty update. This vlog is gonna be long now. Do you like this? Do you not like this? I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna make those pancakes now. slept in too long. I originally woke up at 9 and then suddenly I went back to sleep and then it was 12. So that's something. I actually really hate sleeping in. I set an alarm for 9 every single day because I want to wake up roughly at 10. But that super failed today, but oh well. So something good that did happen, I got my first feedback from one of the sensitivity readers that I hired. She was reading a partial to check on the demi-romantic rep, and that was all really positive, which was really good for me. And also she had made a note about kind of doing something more. So I have a demi-romantic character, but it's never explicitly stated. And she had made a note about that I may want to, if that's something that works and that kind of fits in with the story. And so I immediately knew the perfect place to mention that. And so I just got on my computer and wrote that in now. So that's perfect. And I still have 2 more rounds of sensitivity reader feedback that's coming, I would say kind of more towards the end of the month, the end of May. So it'll be after I've turned in this round of edits, but then in the next round of edits, when we're doing line edits, we'll be able to, I say we, it's again, really a royal we. I think when I say we, I mean myself and like my editor and like the publisher, like will still be able to make the changes based on feedback, even though I myself am the one making the changes. But if any changes are needed, which I always assume there is some sort of room to add something, I guess, because I always figure I haven't done everything perfect. But those other 2 sensitivity readers are reading the full manuscript in addition, like instead of just a partial. So I'm sure they'll have a lot more feedback, but we'll be able to incorporate all of that before final edits or copy edits or whatever. Copy edits and then past pages? I don't really know. Copy edits first for sure. I don't know if everybody does pass. I guess everybody does do past pages. I don't know. I'll figure it out when the time comes. But that's kind of today. I'm almost done. I'm at chapter 31 of 35 of my chapters. So by tomorrow, I'll be done all of my edits for this round and I'll be able to send that right off to my editor. And then I will go back to working on my sequel. I have been doing a bit of my haunted house stuff, so I think I'm probably going to do some of that alongside of it. I think my hope in my mind is that I can wake up in the morning and I can do my writing in the morning, and then in the afternoon have a bit more time to do a little bit of the horror stuff. I just want to do a Google Calendar and like knock out my timeline, because I have I originally had 2 POVs. Now I have 3 because I've been thinking on that. Though the other 2 are kind of sparse. They're not as much in between, but they're also necessary. So my CP feedback was that people were having trouble understanding whose perspective was who. Like the shift was a little bit too sharp for them. And so I decided I was going to make all the chapter titles, which I never do chapter titles, but I was going to make all the chapter titles a date so that they could understand how it's shifting. Because essentially there's a present, there's the future. Yeah, there's the present, there's the past, and then there's an even further past. So there's actually 3 timelines that I'm working with all at once. And so putting the dates, I think, will just make that a lot more clear for everyone. So that's the update for right now. And then I guess I'll have a final update for you tomorrow. Happens to anyone else, but the second I finish an edit and I get ready to send it to my editor, I become irrationally afraid that I've been in a fever dream this whole time and I haven't actually done anything. And in fact, I'm sending her a manuscript that has no changes whatsoever made, and that she's gonna get it and be like, what is happening right now. But on the back of that, I finished my edits. They were due on May 10th and today's May 3rd. So I've actually finished a little bit early, even though I stretched out my read through a little bit longer than I usually do it, which was nice because it was still a lot. This is like, I can't even count how many times I've read through this manuscript. It feels like I've done it like 30 times already and still have more to come. But that was my last round of developmental edits. So the last like super big edits, assuming that my sensitivity readers won't come back to me and be like, this whole character is offensive. And then I have to do like really big changes, which I'm willing to do. But barring that, assuming that there's only kind of small changes left, then this was my last round of developmental edits, and that is exciting. And it's like right near the beginning of May, end of May. So anyway, that concludes this whole April vlog. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how things are coming together, and I've settled into this zen where I really like my book. I like my book. I like it, and I also feel that other people will like it. I don't know if I'm gangbusters thinking everybody's gonna like lose their damn minds over it, but I feel content. I feel like I am putting together a good book and that it will be enjoyed by others for being good. And that's really that's pretty good. Because as a writer, I feel like the more you read your work, the more you become convinced that the whole thing is trash and that it's garbage and that everybody will hate it. So I think this contentedness is actually very positive for me. But that's really it for that stage. I always want to kind of reflect on these a little bit more. I find that's something I don't do as often. I'll just kind of be like, I'm done, and then I'll move on with my life. But I wanted to reflect a little bit more on how this month has been writing-wise. It's been really interesting because I've had to kind of swap through projects. So at the start of this vlog, I was drafting my sequel, and then I had to swap because I got my edits back into going back to editing my debut. And then I actually did a little bit of work on my horror with like sort of plotting stuff and like getting my revision notes together. And so it was kind of interesting to start this flux of swapping around with projects, because usually I kind of work on one pretty consistently for a long time. I've never had to kind of swap this quickly between them, but it's actually worked out. It's been pretty positive for me. I'm feeling good overall about my book. I got to participate in some fun things this month. So doing that, the social distancing book fest, that was really cool. I really appreciated being a part of that. And yeah, it's been a month, but it's felt productive, and it's also gone by so fast. I feel like March was so slow and agonizing, and then April was just like gone, and now it's May. So overall, I'm feeling really positive about how everything with my book is going. I'm really pleased about all the support I've gotten from people. I've really appreciated that. So like people that are my subscribers, I really appreciate you watching the videos and liking them and supporting my book. And yeah, that's really it for this whole thing. I'll stop rambling now. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you are interested in seeing more videos from me, you can check those out. You can also subscribe to get updates for whenever I post brand new videos. I talk about all things traditional publishing regarding my experience and kind of sharing those experiences to maybe help you on your journey. I will also do things like interviews with other authors and writers to talk about the whole thing, all different aspects of being an author and being in pursuing traditional publishing and that sort of thing. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.